What's poppin', everybody? The football season is making a quick return. For some leagues, it's already started. So today I am going to take you through the top 5 leagues in Europe and their top teams and give you some predictions, but also we're going to be giving you some storylines to look out for throughout this season that should be very interesting and something to keep an eye on and keep you interested during this crazy time we're having on this planet Earth. But since we're giving you all that, why don't you do us a favor and give us a like and share this video with all your friends so they get to see it too. But if you really want us to be even, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Now, without further ado, let's get into the season that is to come. We're going to start off in France, where things have already kicked off, and it is just so simple, isn't it? Paris Saint-Germain is going to once again reign supreme as champions. They are just simply too good. This squad is too talented and too deep. They were clearly one of Europe's top 5 teams this past season, and they really proved it, especially with a healthy Neymar. But that brings up a great point, though, that the coronavirus has hit this team, especially with Neymar testing positive for the virus. And it's a stark reminder that, things really just aren't normal just yet. And this could definitely help teams like Lyon grab a few points and push their way back into the top 4. Lyon, as everyone knows, had a terrible start to their season, which left them so low in the table, but a great finish with manager Rudy Garcia. And with him at the helm and a healthy Memphis Depay, they should get right back into the top 4 picture for sure. I have no doubt in my mind. However, there are some rumors of Memphis leaving the squad, and that poses some serious issues because we've seen what they look like with him and without him these past couple of seasons. In the end, though, I do think that they will retain the Dutchman because his price tag is just going to be far too high. He's starting to enter his prime, and he's looking better than ever with every single season that goes by. So I do think with the coronavirus keeping most of the financial powerhouses at bay, it should bode well for Lyon keeping pace in the title race. One team that could push Lyon for a top 4 spot is Lille. Lille have pushed every team the past couple of seasons, but they fell off a little bit last season. I do think that they will rebound, though, with all the young budding superstars. It makes them sort of unpredictable for other teams. You don't know exactly how good they're going to be in the coming season, but I do think with talents like Jonathan Akone and the Canadian Jonathan David in the squad, things could be looking up for them, and I think that they will grab a Champions League spot, but they're going to have a tough time with Marseille, who grabbed their first Champions League spot for the first time in a very long time. The squad is right in its peak, but there are a few players who are aging out, and you wonder how long can guys like Payet really keep this squad moving on. The good news for them, though, is Florian Thauvin is back in the squad after being out for last season, and he should add a lot of goals and a lot of creative playmaking ability that they were really lacking last season. So they are definitely not far off of the top 2 to 3 spots for sure. We're going to head a little bit further south, where it was tight in La Liga. Pretty much all the way to the end, Barcelona and Real Madrid, the 2 top dogs, were battling it out. But then Barcelona just completely bottled it once the restart happened and basically handed the title to Real Madrid. And it was just a sad state of affairs pretty much since the restart on. No matter what Messi could do, it seemed like Barcelona just couldn't get back to their winning ways. You talk about the 8-2 thrashing at the hands of Bayern Munich, which had never happened to a side like Barcelona, not even with how great this Bayern Munich side had been. And look, President Bartomeu has just absolutely destroyed, savagely cut the throat and the culture of this club, destroyed their identity. It is going to be an absolutely rough season. And look, I've seen Matchday Barcelona and I've seen All or Nothing Tottenham Hotspur. This is a season that needs to be documented. We need to see the drama that is going to be going on because I am predicting an absolute catastrophe. This club is going to be torn apart from the inside out, with one of their favorite godlike figures in Lionel Messi being part of that, unfortunately. You know that he is pissed. You know that he is mad. He's got Bartomeu breathing down his neck. And then he's got Ronald Koeman, who is going to try and rebuild this club in his own image, shipping off all Leo Messi's friends and maybe even getting in Leo's face. With a divisive figure like that though, I think, in all honesty, Leo Messi is going to be hanging up his Barcelona shirt early this season. It is going to be tough for everyone involved, including the fans, but I can't wait to watch. It's going to be fun and entertaining TV. Now, moving further south to the capital of Spain and Real Madrid. Look, I expect them to pretty much walk away with this title. With Barcelona having so many issues, they're pretty much a shoo-in. The only thing I could see happening is Benzema and Ramos, those aging players, just completely falling off a cliff. Modric is getting up there too, and even Kroos is getting closer to that time as well. But we kind of have to believe it when we see it. Real Madrid have no reason to fall off at this point, especially with all the penalties that they're handed their way. So they really should be the shoo-ins. And obviously, again, the coronavirus, we have to think about it. There is that potential outcome. But, I mean, realistically, one great thing that could happen for them is Eden Hazard finding his form again, finding his feet. This always happens to Eden Hazard. He goes on these terrible stretches where he's just awful for an entire season, but then he comes back and then all his lovers and his fanboys get to tell you that this is why he's one of the best players in the world. And I think that we're going to see sort of that rebound season from Eden Hazard, so we can definitely expect that one here. As for Atletico Madrid, look, I think that they're just a little bit too good, a little bit too experienced, but they're not really good enough to push anybody this time. They haven't added anybody, and I don't expect that their young squad will really have that big leap to make any big difference, to be honest with you. But I think they're firmly within the top four race. I really don't think that they're going to fall out of it at all. And Simeone should be able to get enough draws to make sure that no one really gets too close and as he kills off all the other contenders. But that last spot in the Liga with all those contenders is really anybody's guess. You have Getafe, you have Valencia, you have Sevilla. There's just too many teams to count out at this point. And they were really keeping it close all the way through La Liga, making things tough on each other. But as I said, it really is anybody's guess, but here is how I see things shaking out in Spain. Now over to the Serie A, where another team has been dominating for a decade and may in fact win their 10th straight Scudetto. Unheard of. Juventus is on the march for that, and their fans got their wish. Maurizio Sarri, who brought nothing but disappointment, is gone. He's out the door, and they're bringing in a club legend, an Italian football legend in Pirlo. But realistically, we don't know what Prilo is going to bring to Juventus. It's going to be tricky to know that, and honestly, I don't have high hopes because I think the problems were always much deeper than Sarri. Maybe he wasn't a great fit for the club. He might have been if they had given him more time. I'm not so sure, but we're really not going to know, and I think that Pirlo will not do much better. This side is starting to fall apart. It was made for a guy like Massimo Allegri to do whatever he wanted with the squad, to be versatile, but there's just no way of knowing if Pirlo can do this. To me, it just looks like a transitional signing. The club wants to say, look, we don't really have a perfect manager for you guys yet, so let's bring in the club legend. Let's see what he can do. And hey, look, we're a talented squad. Even if we lose the Scudetto, we don't get our 10th straight. Hey, look, it's all right. We got 9, and Pirlo's a club legend, and the club was falling apart. It's so obvious, right? No. Let's be realistic here. I don't think the club is going to do that well. And meanwhile, in Milan, Antonio Conte, Romelu Lukaku, and the Inter boys are coming for that crown. And they're starting to rebuild with Antonio Conte's philosophy in mind. They brought in the great right back, Achraf Hakimi from Real Madrid, who is perfect for Antonio Conte's style of play. And then another guy who will be absolutely perfect is a reunion with N'Golo Kante, who could be that destroyer, that box-to-box midfielder that Antonio Conte really needs in his system. Ultimately, I think that this could be great. This could really push them, and it could really vault them right over Juventus. We saw what Lazio could do with not as deep a squad, maybe a bit more firepower, but I'm really excited to see what Inter can do this season. So maybe it is finally time for the dethroning of the old lady. As for the last two, I mean, Atalanta and Lazio were well within it, both two extremely attacking squads, but we saw their depth tested late down the stretch, and that could really come again in this season. But I do think that they'll do really well. They're probably going to outscore most teams, and the only ones that I could see holding up against them is really the other two previously mentioned, Inter and Juventus. The only teams with a solid enough defense to really hold them off, as they kind of proved last season. Either way, I think that these last two teams could be really exciting and ones to watch for sure, especially with Serie A at Lazio. All right, let's talk some Bundesliga. This was the closest competition prior to the restart. You had about 4 or 5 teams that were really in it, and a few had held the top spot for a few weeks in a row. And I think we're gonna see similar things here, but let's talk about the runners-up. Borussia Dortmund, look, they've had 2 great chances under Lucien Favre. And at this point, with a club this stature, with the players that they've had and the chances that they've had to capture that Bundesliga title that they really should have had, Lucien Favre has to have the hottest seat right now in all of football. And that is going to be something to watch, because we have seen this side be so inconsistent despite the incredible talent that they have. And Favre can have this team looking so great one match, and then the next, they're just pathetic. You don't even know what you're looking at. So I think you really have to look at this and say, his time at Borussia Dortmund is coming up, and to be honest, I don't see him coming back next season, because a second place finish, unless it's razor thin, I don't see it really being good enough for all the Borussia Dortmund fans. These are the most die-hard fans in the world, and a club that really does expect a lot and has a lot of great players with potential in a window that they cannot miss out, because it is shortened by the simple fact that they're going to have to let some of these players go eventually, like Jadon Sancho, like Erling Haaland. So Lucien Favre, you better get it done. But the way I see it is that if Lucien Favre gets this team off to a bad run, he is gone before the first month. I don't see him holding up at all, and Borussia Dortmund is going to have a brand new manager to get things done. Now, Borussia Mönchengladbach is one that I definitely see staying in that top 4 race. They're a young squad, they're an exciting team, they're well coached, and I just think that the ceiling is only gonna get higher and higher and higher for them with all the young talent that they have. They're gonna be unpredictable, sort of like Lille. You don't really know exactly what you're gonna see, because the players can only be getting better. However, I think that the real threat, if there is any to the title, is RB Leipzig. Look, they lost Timo Werner, but so what? Clearly, Julian Nagelsmann has shown, especially in the Champions League, that this side is a lot more than Timo Werner. They can score goals without him. Nagelsmann is just a straight-up genius, and this team has a lot more talent to give. They're definitely going to be one of the teams to watch. They gave Bayern a few tough goes, and even Borussia Dortmund as well. So really, they are the guys to look out for, and I think that they're going to be very much in the Champions League spots. However, one team I don't really think is going to be in there is Bayer Leverkusen. Let's just be honest. Without Kai Havertz, they probably wouldn't have even scraped up a Europa League spot. They were really not good aside from that talismanic figure, and now he's gone, and I just really don't see who else can pick up the slack for this side. And then there is the champions, who look like one of the best, if not the best, club in Europe this past season, and it's hard to see them falling off. They're really not going to lose anybody. Maybe Thiago Alcantara, but even if they did lose him, there's other guys that can fill his spot and maybe add a different dimension. And then you have Leroy Sané coming in, who has just got so much untapped potential, and we're really excited to see him going to a club like Bayern Munich that can really help him excel with all his talents. And he looks absolutely yoked. I don't know what is going on in Deutschland, but him and Goretzka and all those other guys look absolutely jacked. So I'm excited to see what they can do in this coming season. Finally, we'll make our last stop in the Premier League, but we'll start things off with the team that has changed the most, and that is Chelsea. They have almost completely revamped their starting 11 that was already pretty good. They brought in Hakim Ziyech, Timo Werner, Kai Havertz, Malang Sarr, Thiago Silva, and Ben Chilwell as well to round things out. And the squad looks completely different, but it's so weird because we thought that finally, Chelsea will be investing in their great youth academy. But this really is the weirdest part. They seemingly have given up on the young nucleus that got them so far. Their youth academy players like Mason Mount, like Tammy Abraham, who have played together, who played great together, who got them so far. They had all this time to save up cash. What do? They revert to their old ways and they spend all the cash and completely revamp their squad, and it looks nothing like the one from last year. So the chemistry between a team that has basically no time to get that chemistry is going to look so weird. It's not as if they just filled the gaps in the attack and made it even better. No, they completely changed the attack, and we have no idea how it's going to look despite how talented these players are. And it's just absolutely baffling because I, for one, want to see them finally invest in the youth, and they did not do that. And the worst part is you add a great experienced defender like Thiago Silva, who is 100% past it. It really made no sense to make that signing in my eyes. I guess you could say maybe he's gonna give the experience, but that's always a wishy-washy way to do things. I'm not so sure that it's gonna work, because if he gets exposed a lot, how are you gonna look to your left or right and say, yeah, this is the guy we wanna follow, it's the guy we want to lead us? And then when you look behind you, you might have Kepa in goal. It just makes no sense. They didn't solve the problem that they really had all season long that kind of dropped them from that 3rd spot to the 4th spot and almost out of the top 4 entirely. And this could be a really bad season for them. They may not completely drop out of the top 4, but at the end of the day, I think it's money well wasted for Frankie Lampard and the boys. Now, before we move too far north, let's just head to North London. Let's talk about Spurs and Arsenal. And let's get things started off with the guys in the All or Nothing documentary, The Spurs, Tottenham Hotspur. Under Jose Mourinho, I actually think this is exactly what the squad needs. The squad is aging. Its window is pretty much gone. There's nothing really there for it anymore. But Jose, I think, can get them exactly what they need, and that's a trophy and a bit of a change in mentality. He may not stay forever, but what he can do is put a mentality that lasts in Tottenham forever, because a player like Harry Kane is probably going to stay. He's going to stay for at least the prime of his career and then pass down the experience and the leadership to the next generation of great Tottenham players. So I do think they can actually push pretty far. I think they'll surprise a lot of people because I think overall the squad is stable. And now that he's figured out the squad's DNA, I think Jose can have a really good second season, as he usually does. As for their rivals in red, Arsenal and Arteta Ball, they have re-upped at the back with a few great young defenders with a lot of potential, but not so much proven pedigree. And it's a position that tends to age pretty well, so maybe in the future they'll have a lot. But at this moment in time, I'm not sure. These guys really just don't have for what I think Arteta wants. For Arteta Ball, this squad, even in attack, doesn't really have exactly what they need just yet. Maybe he's a great strategist that we just don't really know about yet. Maybe Stevie G is right about that. But I am not so sure. I'm not sold at all. They ended the season winning the trophy that they love so much, the FA Cup. But look, Gooner fans, I'm not buying it. I'm not sold. Arteta Ball, it's not here, not yet at least. As for Leicester, who is trying to get back into the top 6 and had a great start to the last season, and then the wheels completely fell off under Brendan Rodgers. I don't really think that Ben Chilwell will be as big a loss as many think. We've seen what they look like without him, and honestly, he didn't make too much of a difference. I kind of think he's overrated by English media, to be completely honest with you. And I think that the squad will do pretty good, but judging by how they ended things, it may not lead to a top place finish, but we will see. They have the attacking firepower of Jamie Vardy, who seems like an ageless wonder at this point. And I think he can really push them on, and he's one to keep an eye out for fantasy for sure. Now let's head to Old Trafford, where things are looking fun for the first time in a very, very long time. And they got a signing that I've wanted for a really long time in the Dutchman Ajax's Donny van de Beek. Well, now Manchester United's Donny van de Beek, and I'm really excited for him. The only problem is Ole seems to have completely forgotten how bad we looked in defense sometimes, how much we needed a ball-winning midfielder, how much we needed a left back or a center back. And so far, it doesn't look like we're really in the talks for anybody. And if we were, they're pretty much over. So this leaves me a little bit concerned about some things that might be happening at Manchester United. Obviously, the attack will look really good, and that should be really fun. And the games might be really fun for neutrals because I think we're also going to let in a lot of goals in this one. Look, I still think David De Gea is one of the best goalkeepers in the world. I think the criticism of him is kind of ridiculous at times. David De Gea has made some amazing saves that have really saved our full 3 points or even saved us a game entirely. But he's also had some really bad howlers that justifiably do receive criticism. Some of that's due to the defense, some of that's due to the midfield not winning the ball back, or the forwards not winning the ball back. But either way, I think this is going to lead to a battle and a controversy for the #1 shirt in Manchester United. With Dean Henderson coming off a great couple of seasons with Sheffield and probably getting a lot of cup games, it is going to drive a lot of controversy, and it is going to be a very tough season for me because I don't know who to pick. I don't know who I want. I mean, Dean Henderson seems like the future, but I love David De Gea so much. But again, for neutrals, this is going to be fun for you guys, so enjoy, I guess. Lastly, there are the legitimate title contenders. Obviously, the champions, Liverpool, and the previous 2 champions, Manchester City. Let's start things off with Liverpool, though. I mean, let's be real here. They still look great. Part of that is because no one has left. No one has left their championship winning side pretty much 2 years in a row. I mean, you could argue they were extremely unlucky to not win 2 seasons ago, and they won the Champions League anyway, pretty much destroying the competition. This season, they may even add Bayern's Thiago, which would add a lot of creativity in midfield, which is kind of the spot that they sort of lack a bit of depth in, sort of lack a bit of creativity in, which is exactly what he's going to provide. They have a team here where this is really their time. This is their window, and I honestly think that they're going to do really good, and no matter who is in this title race with them, I think it's going to probably be them leading the way the whole way through. It realistically is theirs to lose. Of course, we always have to consider Manchester City and Pep Guardiola and company. It is going to be a very interesting season for them to see if they can rebound, if they can fix those defensive issues, those defensive liabilities that really killed their title dreams. But they have brought in a few new players to add to some depth and really add to some defensive solidity, especially in Nathan Ake. I really think he can really help Aymeric Laporte. He could be that perfect partner for him, hopefully, if Laporte stays healthy. And that's another concern for them, because if he doesn't stay healthy, I don't know that Nathan Ake can hold up the back line all by himself, because he won't really have another partner with him. Another issue just in front of him is going to be Rodri. Rodri really couldn't play that pivot, that Fernandinho role. It's pretty much been club legends leaving these past couple of seasons. That's been the story for Manchester City. First it was Kompany to Anderlecht, then it was David Silva, he's moved on, and now Sergio Aguero. The injuries are starting to pile up for him, and you're wondering, who can really replace him? Gabby Jesus had so much promise, but he really hasn't lived up to it thus far. And I'm not sure he can fill the massive boots of the little Argentinian. Regardless though, I think we have to still respect them and what they can do. I think that this team could look really good, and they've always had so much depth, so we're really gonna get to see what those other players like Bernardo Silva can really do. But that's it for me, everybody. These are my predictions, and don't worry, we're going to come back at the end of this season and you'll be able to laugh at me then. But for now, leave your predictions below in the comments and we'll get to them. We'll talk about those as well. Don't forget once again to like and share this video and subscribe to Lingo Sports for more. But just so we can keep in touch through the season, you can follow me and Lingo Sports through these ads. But until then, we'll see you next time.